Our story begins exactly 50 years ago with the historic voyage of 500 West Indians on the Empire Windrush. June 21st, 1948. Although the Windrush had come 5,000 miles to Britain, to most on board it seemed like a homecoming. Back in the colonial Caribbean they had left, everyone was steeped in a way of life that was entirely British.
Britain was everything. In my school, which was a Church of England school, I'm not talking about college, I'm talking about school, we sang things like the Eton Boat Song. I know it's strange. But everything that they did in England, we more or less did in our school. It was a kind of anglicized Jamaican upbringing.
We were brought up that we are British, and we were brought up that England is your mother country. And we were brought up to respect the royal family. So no way any of us would ever dare to go and speak anything against the royal family.
The king was our king. The flag was our flag. How more British could we get? And we lived it.
When World War II broke out in 1939, it seemed entirely natural that 10,000 West Indians would volunteer for the war effort. This squadron, Jamaica Squadron, was named after the island that paid for the planes. But it was in manpower rather than money that the Caribbean made its biggest contribution.
I was still in college at the time. And I remember these white men came from England, and they took these, what we call trucks, open trucks, and they went to all the country parts, the little nooks and crannies, and they begged people to come and fight for your motherland, come and fight for England, because we need you.
When the appeal was made, I remember going to the then Labour office in Kingston, and there were literally thousands of fellows there, eager to come to Britain to do something in the war effort. And I joined the very first wave. People were happy that we were here. They showed their happiness. We were made welcome.
Every one of these people gathered together in this studio is a West Indian. Today, West Indians have common citizenship and common cause with us, and they have come over to help us.
In the crew with which I served, as far as we were concerned, everything and everyone was equal in this country.
West Indians and Britons not only lived together, they also died together.
Of the 250 of us who came from Trinidad alone, 52 were killed. One of them was in class with me at school, but we ended up on the same squadron. We were doing low-level daylights at the time. And he was killed on the 7th operation. I was very lucky, and he was killed on the 7th, and I went on to do 80. It was sheer luck.
After the war, most West Indians returned to the Caribbean, but some re-enlisted for further military service. In 1947, 250 young RAF men went home on leave to the Caribbean, planning to return to England after a few weeks. Few realized the historic impact their example would have. One of the returning servicemen was Airman Houghton Christian.
I was supposed to be there for 2 months, They couldn't find me a ship to come back, so I stayed 6 months. So this Empire Windrush, I was told it was a captured German trooper. They sent it to Jamaica to collect all the West Indians who were on leave then, to take us back.
The Empire Windrush had been diverted from its normal route between Britain and Mexico. It had room for almost 1,000 passengers. The ship's owners wanted to fill up the remaining spaces, so they offered a special one-way fare of £28, 10 shillings. There was no shortage of takers.
The main stimulus was that advance guard that had volunteered to come in the war, because those were young people, you know, very, aspiring, very bright young men, especially joining up to fight for Britain. They'd had an experience of travel, they had an experience of Europe and Britain, they'd seen somewhere else. They went home out of natural piety, and when they got home, they thought, life is too slow here, it doesn't offer me the opportunity.
It was from this harbour in Kingston, Jamaica, that the Empire Windrush set sail on its pioneering voyage. It was the 24th of May, 1948.
They were all jolly, joyful. People there laughing, joking, and a lot weeping. You know, their loved ones leaving, something they would never see them again.
For some, it was a voyage into uncertainty. But the overwhelming mood was one of hope and excitement. 4 weeks after leaving Kingston, the voyagers caught their first glimpse of their new home. They docked at Tilbury Harbour in Essex on June 21st, 1948.
The Empire Windrush brings to Britain 500 Jamaicans, citizens of the British Empire coming to the mother country with good intent. Their spokesman sings his thanks to Britain.
Now, may I ask you your name?
Lord Kitchener.
Lord Kitchener. Now, I'm told that you are really the king of calypso singers, is that right?
Yes. I get this kind of wonderful feeling that I'm going to land on the mother country, the soil of the mother country. And I started composing this song. London is the place for me.
London is the place for me. London, this lovely city. You can go to France or America,
India, Asia, or Africa, but you must come back to London City. I said, London is the place for me.
For many of those now setting foot on the mother country for the first time, excitement was tinged with uncertainty. Most of the new arrivals had nowhere to live and no jobs to go to. While they looked for work, the government housed them in an old air raid shelter underneath Clapham Common in South London.
I did not know how many people were there, but there was quite a few. Most of them didn't stay long at all.
The first stop for most of the men in the shelter was the nearest labour exchange, Brixton. But none of the new arrivals had difficulty finding work. After suffering more than 500,000 casualties in the war, Britain was desperate for labour. The migrants simply settled where the jobs were: London, Manchester, the West Midlands.
I can remember the Windrush people arriving at Wolverhampton High Level Station, and whole long streams of young West Indians looking totally bewildered, clutching a bag with their few possessions,